Hello everyone, how have you been? It's Mr. Gerald here with the weekly installment of Another Point of View. Hasn't been the best of weeks for me, but regardless, let's get right into this. Happening now. Sort of. Human society has come a long way since its early days. We've changed the game and the playing field so many times with our advancements. It really is utterly incredible how far we've come. But one of our more impressive game-changing moments, I feel, came nearly 2 centuries ago in the 1800s with a little thing called the Industrial Revolution. You see, after the Industrial Revolution, our ability to produce, manufacture, and just create things, whether those creations fall under the category of food, furniture, clothing, weapons, you name it. If it was a material good, industrialization would eventually figure out a way to make that item cheaper, faster, and in larger quantities. But as with everything in life, it's not all good. Industrialization may have helped us face and conquer our old challenges, but it brought with it new challenges, new difficulties, and new horrors. One of the negatives to come from industrialization is what is referred to as industrial disasters. Industrial disasters are basically when things go very wrong and the consequences are no joke. An industrial disaster in a mere instant can be responsible for devastating property damage, forced quarantine and closing off of land, destruction of entire ecosystems, and a tremendous loss of life. One of the earliest industrial disasters in human history is a prime example of just how quickly and suddenly these can occur. The disaster in question occurred on January 10th, 1860, in the U.S. state of Massachusetts, when a large factory by the name of Pemberton Mill collapsed without warning, killing about 145 workers and injuring another 166. Since then, industrial disasters have occurred at various points of human history. Some more famous and well-known than others, some more devastating than others, some more unique than others, but they've all done some form of damage, usually irreparable. To help make my point, here are a few industrial disasters, some of which you might be familiar with. On March 10th, 1906, in Courrières, France, the worst mining disaster of Europe occurred, when a coal dust explosion killed 1,099 people, including children. On January 15th, 1919, in Boston, Massachusetts, an industrial disaster now known as the Great Molasses Flood occurred. In case you don't know what molasses is, it's like a dark syrup. The disaster occurred when a large tank of molasses burst, and molasses rushed into the streets at about 56 kilometers per hour, killing 21 people and injuring 150. On April 26, 1942, in Bengxi, Liaoning, China, the worst mining disaster in the world occurred when a coal dust explosion in the Bengxi-Hu colliery killed 1,549 workers. On December 3rd, 1984, in Bhopal, India, a tank at the Union Carbide India Limited plant containing large amounts of a poisonous chemical gas by the name of methyl isocyanate released large amounts of it into the air due to the pressure relief systems, and the death toll from this accident ranges from 4,000 to 20,000 people. To this day, severe health problems persist in the region caused by this same disaster. Speaking of long-term effects, here's an industrial disaster many people should be quite familiar with. On April 26, 1986, in Pripyat, Ukraine, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant experienced a meltdown. 50 people were killed in the incident, and it is estimated between 4,000 to many hundred thousands of people have died over time from cancer caused by the radioactive fallout. To this day, the Chernobyl exclusion zone, covering parts of Belarus and Ukraine around the area of the disaster, remain contaminated and mostly uninhabited. Some of you might be saying, these are rather old disasters, to which I agree. Perhaps some more recent industrial disasters should be included. So here you go. On April 20th, 2010, an oil rig off the Gulf of Mexico by the name of Deepwater Horizon exploded and sank, killing 11 platform workers and causing what is considered the worst offshore oil spill in American history. In March of 2011, following a tsunami and earthquake, a nuclear power plant by the name of Fukushima 1 suffered equipment failure, causing a release of radioactive materials and radiation, the effects of which are still being felt today. On September 11th, 2012, in Karachi, Pakistan, 289 people died in a garment factory fire. On April 24th, 2013, on the outskirts of the capital of Bangladesh, an 8-story factory building collapsed, killing 1,129 people. Yes, listeners, industrial disasters have as much of a risk of occurring today as they did over a century ago. And this brings me to the most recent industrial tragedy and the main story of this segment. I'm of course referring to the recent industrial accident that occurred in Tianjin, China this past Wednesday, when a container storage warehouse owned by Ruihai International Logistics, located in Tianjin's port area, experienced 2 massive chemical explosions. Ruihai International Logistics, according to its company website that went offline at some point after Wednesday, transports hazardous materials including flammable liquids, combustible agents, and corrosives. One chemical known to have been found nearby the area of the blast was sodium cyanide, though there are believed to be other potential hazardous chemicals at play here. The thing about sodium cyanide is, it produces hydrogen cyanide when dissolved or burned, which is a toxic gas. Worse still, traces of sodium cyanide were found near drains around the disaster area, raising fears of water sources in the area being contaminated. This has the potential to be a serious public health risk. As of right now, the blast site area has been closed off for fear of contamination. This industrial disaster has already claimed the lives of about 50 people so far, 12 of which were firefighters who were responding to the fire to begin with. And as many as 700 people have been injured. To make matters more complicated, China's government and state-run news media seem to be garnering distrust over their restraint in what information is being disseminated. Already an air of distrust seems to be forming among some members of the public about whether the Chinese government is hiding some information. And there are even some who, given the size and magnitudes of the blasts, are wondering whether this is indeed an accident. My thoughts on the situation, though, is that for now, in the interest of promoting that cooler heads prevail, I think it's too early to engage in such reckless speculation. Speculation which I feel is actually bordering on conspiracy. The disaster is not over, emotions are still running high, questions do need to be answered, but preventing any possible further contamination of the air, water, and food supply should be top priority. As I tried to put forth throughout the segment, this isn't just a one-country issue. Industrial disasters can and have happened anywhere in the world. To anyone who lost a loved one or family member, for what it's worth, I truly offer my condolences. And to anyone who is fighting injury from the disaster, or who knows someone recovering from injury, I wish you a safe recovery. It's a travesty what happened, and no words can do justice the magnitude of what's going on right now. There's no transition that can follow that up, so I'm not even going to try with that. Nature hates us. I don't know what's more troubling, the fact that I'm doing these on a near consistent weekly basis now, or the fact that there keep being stories about a different natural occurrence or animal harming people. So what's nature trying to use to thin out our herd this time? Well, this is essentially as unlucky as it gets, I think. I mean, when you talk about a natural event that a person has the least chance of being a victim of, this is probably the top one. I'm of course referring to being struck by lightning, or as I would call it, nature's version of the lottery that you don't want to win. Just to give you an idea how unfortunate you must be to get struck by lightning, let's look at a few facts. First and foremost, there are 2 types of lightning that occur on our planet: cloud to cloud and cloud to ground. Only 25% of the lightning that occurs on the planet Earth is cloud to ground, which is the type of lightning that is responsible for lightning strikes on people. Next thing to consider is, the higher your elevation from the ground, or rather, the closer you are to the sky than the rest of the things around you during a thunderstorm, the higher your chance of being hit. This of course hurts your chances if you're on a mountain, climbing it during a storm, but if you're at ground level in a city, more than likely your chance of being hit by lightning is further reduced. Even more so, helping your chances of avoiding getting hit by lightning, you'd have to be outdoors to be directly struck by lightning. Your location on Earth also affects your chance of being struck by lightning. Apparently, lightning has a higher frequency of occurring in the tropics than anywhere else, and the closer you are to the Earth's north or south pole, geographically, the less chance you have of being struck by lightning. Toss all those factors into this, and your chances of being struck by lightning are essentially really low. And yet, there are several incidents of lightning strikes harming or killing people. There is actually a Guinness World Record held by a Mr. Roy Sullivan for surviving 7 different lightning strikes over the period of 35 years. But why am I talking about lightning strikes now, you might be wondering? What newsworthy event happened in relation to lightning strikes? Well, this past Wednesday, 40 U.S. Army Rangers and 4 of their instructors were struck by lightning down in the state of Florida, all of which were taken to the hospital for treatment. These tough Rangers, however, seem to have reacted well, and all of them seem like they're going to recover. 31 of them have already returned to training as of Thursday. Still, I'm amazed at how a lightning strike could actually get 44 people at once. Nature really does seem to hate us. But as these fine folks have shown, nature, it's going to take more than some fancy flashes of light and electricity to break the human spirit. Alright, let's end this installment on a somber note and honor some heroes. This past Saturday was August 15th. It was a pretty tame day for yours truly. But it was also the anniversary of the end of World War II. That's right, 7 decades ago, August 15th, 1945, was Victory in Japan Day. World War II. It's amazing, really. I spent quite some time thinking about what I would say about it and refamiliarizing myself with the facts, but I lose myself in the moment now. Any other given time, in a private conversation or general discussion with another person or small group of acquaintances or friends, I would be without trouble engaging in discussion about the causes, impressive feats, the chronological events, and statistics relating to this conflict. But right now, for this segment, it just doesn't seem as important. I would not be saying anything that others haven't already said more eloquently than myself. It's strange, because all I can really say is, many individuals, by which I mean millions of people, lost their lives in World War II. Some of them were very bad people with truly vindictive ideals who, if they had won, the world would very well have been a much different place than what it is today. But the others, the good people who fought the good fight, regardless of whether it was for country, for family, you name it, I don't think any words I say can aptly describe the horrors of war they must have seen, the sacrifices they made, or the difficult times they must have experienced. All I can say is, those people are heroes. Thank you. See you next week, everyone.